to answer my questions. We are on a limited time frame tonight, so I would just ask that you would try. We've got a line here, so let's try and get it quick. Thank you.
I may be opening up a real big can of worms tonight for myself, but I just want you to know that I'm a registered nurse from Canada. I came here later in life, of course, and you probably have friends from Canada, and they go, "Oh, we like our healthcare," and then you look here, the liberal side go, "Oh, the Canadians, they get this free healthcare, isn't it wonderful?" You'd be surprised how much taxes, though, that we're paying. Like, when you see 50% of your paycheck goes back, you won't like that. The other thing that I must tell you is I work for one of the big insurance companies that Ken had on the screen. And I said to them, you know, they were very happy when Obamacare came out because they were looking at all these numbers of people that didn't have insurance, and they were like, yeah, new customers. And I pointed it out to them several times. I said, there are no big insurance companies in Canada. The other thing was, they actually set up a DC office, and they've helped Obama set up the exchanges here in Texas. It's a very large company, making billions of dollars every year. Why would they throw themselves to the wolves like this? It just floors me that they would do such a stupid thing. And yet they just don't seem to get it. They don't respond to me directly. They they've got a PAC. They set up a PAC, and anybody over a grade level can donate to it. And the money, they say, goes to elect good Democrats and good Republicans. Well, as far as I'm concerned, there is no such thing as a good Democrat. On a personal note, I'll just say that my daughter was pregnant in Canada, had a very high-risk pregnancy. She got worse care than what a Medicaid patient here gets.
Thank you, ma'am. Let me address that a little bit, because there is what's going on here. That is a good question, and I've actually been posed that question before. Well, you know, how can if it's so bad for the insurance companies, why would they be on board for it? Well, you've got to understand a little bit about the mentality of how people and how companies and how they're all set up. We all know people that, like, when they lose their job, they have not a dime in the bank. They have no thought beyond the next paycheck. They live paycheck to paycheck. We know people like that, right? So I'm sorry. And those are folks that they don't. Their vision goes for 24 hours at a time, a couple of weeks at a time, and that's about it. That's how far they can see into the future. And that's not really that uncommon, unfortunately. Even people who make a lot of money are not really looking that far down the road as far as what their future is, what's going on. Corporate America works generally on about a fiscal quarter timeline. They're looking at those stock returns, and they'll do something that may not be the best decision for the long term if they can get those quarterly earnings reports out. So they're thinking quarter to quarter. Politicians, if they're smart enough to look to the next election, and some of them are not, will look up to the next election, and that's about it. They're looking at most 2 years into the future, or if they're a senator, maybe they're looking at 6 years into the future. But that's how far their timeline is. Okay, those are relatively short timelines. The socialist left doesn't think in terms of weeks or months or years. They think in terms of decades and centuries. When you look at all the things that are coming into fruition, Obamacare didn't get thought up 5 years ago. This has been a mission of the progressive left for the entire 20th century. And if you read back to what they set out as their goals at the beginning of the 20th century, universal health care was one of them. Socialized medicine was one of them. And they have that long vision to do that. And I promise you, as between somebody that's thinking 2 years into the future, or somebody that's thinking 3 months into the future, and somebody that's thinking 100 years into the future, there's no question who wins over the long term. So that's the way to understand why corporate America will sell the rope to the socialists to hang them. That's exactly, and actually I think that's a quote from Lenin said something along those lines. He said, well, what about the capitalists? He said, well, the capitalists will sell some of the rope to hang them with. And that's exactly what we're seeing here. The short-term thinking that gets us long-term into a very bad place. Okay, I'm sorry I took up the time a little bit, but we've got 4 people, and I'm sure we're running out of time, so let's go quick with the questions.
I want to talk about this stand your ground and vote the right way, because if you don't, next election, I promise you, you will be voted out. If you don't believe me, look at what happened to Lieutenant Governor David Duhas when he ran. We as citizens should not be subjected to the abuse that we have taken. Everyone is so stressed, so worried. Their whole life has been turned upside down. People are losing their jobs, losing their insurance. UPS is cutting off from spouses being covered. You hear it all the time. You read about it. Why not do the right thing? Do not fund Obamacare.
I'm often a little bit of a contrarian in the things that I say, and we've talked about this before, Russ, at some of the meetings, and you've been there, Ken, too, about how important it is to frame the issue correctly, and to not allow the enemy, the opposition, to frame the issue. Frankly, I think Congressman Sessions is one of the worst about allowing the other side to frame the issue, and then he spends his time defending the issue the way they frame it. So the point I want to make here tonight is how those of us in this room can be as effective as we possibly can. And Ken, I'm a big supporter of yours, and there's not a single fact that you put up there tonight that I don't agree with. I agree with all of the facts that you put up there. But here's what I disagree with. I disagree with us spending one moment, 1 second, 1 syllable, 1 breath in discussing the issue of defending whether or not it's okay to shut the government down. Because when we're even talking about shutting the government down, we're letting them frame the issue. When anyone tries to talk to me about shutting the government down, I immediately change the subject, not to whether it's going to be harmful or bad to the government, or harmful or bad to the citizens, or harmful or good to Republicans, and how it's going to affect elections, because then I fall into the trap. If they frame the issue, and now I'm discussing whether or not that's good. The thing I immediately change the topic to is how bad Obamacare is. And we need to keep 100%, not 90%, not 95%, not 98%, not 99.9%. We need to keep 100% of our effort with us framing the issue, and the issue to frame is Obamacare is the biggest assault on freedom. There are 1,000 other things we could say. We need to keep the issue on Obamacare and how bad it is, and not spend our time letting them back us into a corner to defend shutting down the government, and whether it's our fault or the Democrats' fault. The Democrats don't let us do that to them, and we don't need to do it to ourselves as well.
Right. Yeah, I appreciate that.